what will tatay give you? Kiss and hug, right?
Kiss and hug.
No. All right, but what happens if you
An
disobey?
iPad.
Oh, no! On Faith and Fatherhood Couple here once again. This is Tatay Eli, and with me today is...
Mommy Rona.
And welcome to another edition, another episode of Homeschooling that gives homeschooling for working parents. And this is what? Episode 4. Yes, praise God. Umabot kami sa episode 4. Okay, this is more than halfway already. So, after this episode, we have 2 more episodes left. Okay, once again, we would like to thank all those who sent their encouragement. Okay, as of last video, meron ng 5. So may nadagdag na 2. So maybe after 3 more videos, meron na kaming 11. Let's make another video para sakto 1 dosena. But seriously, thank you sa mga nagpadala ng encouragement nila at sa mga nagsabi na natututo daw sila dito sa video na to. And basically, that's our objective, no? Not only to impart our experiences, add some learnings, di ba? That may help parents, not only working parents, but parents in general. So, for today, okay, we will be discussing another topic, di ba? This is the second episode for this week, di ba? Para tayong weekly episodes, di ba? Parang The King. By the way, I'm Lee Min Ho. Para di ka natawa. Last week, we already started discussing itong acronym na G.I.V.E.S. Diba? Sabi natin, everything starts with the anchors.
Yeah.
Itong anchors na to would be what? Stewardship of time and raising independent learners. So, on the basis of those anchors, dyan na nakakabit ngayon itong G.I.V.E.S na to. We started with the acronym G and letter I. Diba? Ano sabi natin? Ano yung G?
Set goals.
Set goals. Sabi natin, some of the things that we shared, we have to set short-term, medium-term goals, qualifiable and quantifiable goals, and use the goals as a measurement of the progress of our children. Tapos yung I, which stands for?
Integrating subjects.
Integrating subjects. Ano ibig sabihin ng integrating subjects?
Yeah,
Ma'am?
it's really, combining 2 or 3 subjects into one single activity.
Yes.
So the purpose of this is really for time efficiency, since
Right.
we recognize that you are working parent.
So, I don't know if you already noticed that, but just in case hindi nyo na-notice, sinasabi na namin ngayon that we will be devoting this time, this episode, only to discuss focusing on values. Meron ka bang idea? Bakit kaya? Why do you think we are devoting one whole episode only for this subject?
But if you ask me, amongst the 5 principles for the word gives, of course, I won't preempt the discussion for the last 2, right? But this is really my favorite. This is really my favorite. And I think there's a reason for why it's also at the center of the word gives, which is really, focusing on values. Why? Because, to me, if you follow the 5 acronyms of GIVES, but fail on this core, which is really the center of your homeschooling experience, then to me, it's still a failure at the end of the day. It will all redound to how is the character of the child, which is really the reason for why we were very intentional in, focusing this episode specifically for this topic.
Actually, one of the sad truths, no, may mga nai-encounter tayo mga bata na alam mo ang gagaling sa school pero sumasagot sa magulang.
Yes.
Right? They don't know the meaning of honoring, of obeying and respecting their parents. And we just wanted to share our hearts to those who would be watching this video. Parents, I think this is one of the most crucial thing that we have to instill to our children. Diba? With respect to the values. And when we say values, we are referring to the character, to the behavior, to the faith, to the belief of a child about the existence of God, right? the purpose of life. Sorry, ganun nakalalim. But I think we really have to start sa pagkabata pa lang, teaching these things to our children.
Yeah, I think the best time for us to really inculcate into the minds of our children these values, di ba, of honoring the Lord, respecting and obeying their parents and the elderly ones and even their peers, right, when they were still very young, because it's really a clean slate.
Right.
If you have young children, that's the best time and the best opportunity for us to really teach them.
Right.
And that's the reason why when we did the introduction and we were sharing to you the 2 anchors for G.I.V.E.S, we were also very intentional in making the homeschooling decision a matter of the heart,
right,
more than anything else,
correct,
because you cannot give what you don't have, right?
Correct,
so
correct.
if you do not have the faith or the conviction yourself as a parent, then what would you pass on to your children?
Right. And if I would summarize itong focusing on values in relation to parenting, I would say that focusing on values is the foundation and the purpose of parenting, right? And I was reminded of the story in Deuteronomy 6, right? If you go to the bookstore or the internet, sobrang daming resources with respect to parenting. How to be a good parent or how to raise good children, right? I think you could use this as a reference, but if you wanted to know the very core of parenting, you check the Bible, right? Itong Deuteronomy 6, I think this summarizes, this encapsulates, tama ba? Encapsulates the very core of parenting, right? Ano ba yung sinasabi dito sa Deuteronomy? God was giving a commandment to the Israelites, right? And the one thing that is noticeable is that the commandments were not given to the children. It was given to the parents. And for the past several videos, paulit-ulit naming sinasabi that we believe that parenting is about the parents first and foremost, secondary lang ang mga bata. I mean, you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot pass on to your children something that you do not possess. No, most parents, they are just concerned, ano bang pwede kong iiwan sa anak ko pag namatay ako. I think parenting, we believe that parenting is an active, right, continuous. You should take an active, continuous stance of passing on something. At hindi mo na kailangan mamatay. Even while you are still alive, you could pass these certain beliefs, certain traits, right? Certain values to your children. In our family, paano ba natin ina-apply itong focusing on values in relation to homeschooling or in general in terms of parenting and child rearing? So, at this point, we will be sharing what are the things that we teach our children about with respect to focusing on values. So, number 1, ano ba yung unang tinuturo natin sa mga anak natin?
Number 1, and I think for me, this is actually the most important, which is really loving the Lord.
Loving God, right?
Yeah, love God. Because loving God is the ultimate, it's the number 1 commandment given to us creations.
Right.
Given to us humans,
right,
by our Creator, by our Lord, by our God, right?
Right.
And it really starts with that, vertical relationship with our Maker. Because if our vertical relationship is right, then everything else will follow. Vertical first before the horizontal relationship with, in regards to our children, starting with us, their parents, and with each other if they are more than 1 siblings, and then with other people as well.
There was this account sa Bible when Jesus was asked to summarize etong law, right? So, etong 10 commandments, right? He was asked to summarize. Ano yung sinabi ni Jesus? He summarized it into 2 commandments. The first one is what? Loving God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. At actually, marami akong mga parents na na-encounter that they want their children to grow up loving God. But my first question to them is, sila ba, right? How are you in terms of this, in terms of your love for God? Because sabi nga natin, ang hirap ituro sa bata ng isang bagay na hindi naman natin pinaniniwalaan.
Yeah, maybe I just want to bring you back, a bit in the previous episode wherein I mentioned that whatever it is that we're asking our children to do, we have to do ourselves first. So as an example, I cited that in our home, in our family, the first thing that you should do in the morning is really to do your quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
We ask Elijah and Ezekiel to read their Bibles. But if we don't...
Or si Ezekiel pretending to read.
Yeah, but at least the thought is there, right? He's reading. Sometimes we even caught him, reading it upside down. But that's fine, right? So, but if they don't see us, modeling it, if they don't see us, doing our Bible reading first thing in the morning, then that would be like hypocrisy in the eyes of our children.
I think loving God teaches our children about accountability, right? They know that their accountability is basically not to us, not even to themselves, right? But their accountability is to the Lord, right? Because the commandment was given by the one who created them. And later on, this would be in discussing how this help working parents. Makikita nyo, if the children are aware and they acknowledge, right? Kanino ba sila accountable? Kanino ba sila liable? This will basically help them in their study habits.
That's also the reason why in the last video when we were discussing about grades, that's when I mentioned about, Elijah not being very, concerned about the grades that he receives or the medals that we give him, because he is very secure in our love, in our trust for him. But not only in that, right? He is also very secure of his standing before God, before the Lord, because the number one thing that we taught him as a small child was God created him. And God created everything, beautifully. He was created wonderfully inside mommy's tummy. So he is very much aware of that. So no one can tell him that he's ugly, for example. In fact, I think that word is not used in our household. We don't, I think there was one instance wherein we kind of heard one of them, say that, I don't like that, that's ugly. We call their attention right away because, we always tell them that, everything that God made is beautiful.
So, hindi natin ginagamit yun dito sa bahay primarily for the reason that I'm handsome and I'm the father. Parang hindi ka natawa. So, loving God is a heart condition. Wala namang nakakakita niyan. Walang nakakaalam other than the person and God Himself. So, we teach our children that etong loving God na to, if they really love God, it must manifest in their external behavior. And what better way to see whether they really love God or not, now brings me to the second thing that we teach our children about, and that is what? Obedience to God. So sabi nga ng asawa ko kanina, etong obedience na to, meron kaming mga non-negotiable routine dito. Number one, primarily would be what? Bible reading. At least for Elijah, right? And just setting the example to our second son, si Ezekiel, dahil hindi pa talaga siya nakakapagbasa nun. Non-negotiable dito sa family namin because you cannot love someone and you cannot obey someone that whom you do not know. And isa lang naman yung source how to know this person that whom you will love, whom you must love, and whom you must obey, and that is the Bible. Other than reading the Bible, meron pa? Which is what?
So we these are, simple routines like before you start your meal, you have to, thank the one who gave you, who provided for the food. Before we sleep at night, we, pray. That's our prayer as a family as well. The kids, small as they are, but they take turns in, really praying for the family, even for the country, and some special intentions for some people in our lives who need special prayer, and also our loved ones as well, our family members. We always remember them in prayer.
So loving God, obeying God. Now we go specific. Ano ba dapat yung talagang ino-obey nila first and foremost?
Yeah,
Diba?
so the number one example of obeying God would really be, obeying us and honoring us as their parents.
This is the
right?
first commandment with a
Promise.
promise, right?
Yeah.
Promise of blessing, right? And this was specifically addressed to children. So, etong honoring our parents. So, honoring their parents, all right? Kami rin. Because we're also children, so we honor our parents. Ano ba? How do we observe honoring parents here at home? Right?
Well, the number one thing that we teach them is that here in the house, the number one, authority would
Right.
really be us.
Right.
When they were still very young children, like 1 or 2 years old, wherein they would, want to get something or to do things their way. Sometimes they would, start throwing tantrums, right? We
Ako ba pinaparinggan mo? Di naman,
we
right?
always teach them that mommy or tatay will always have the final word. If we
Right.
say wait, then you
Right,
wait. If we
right.
say no, you cannot have
Right.
it, then that's no. And
Right.
that's really the law, or that's really the rule here in the house.
Right. So, we teach them about authority.
Yes.
Right? And dito sa bahay, of course, pag may authority, merong house rules, right? So, ngayon, anong house rules ba yung tinuturo namin sa mga anak namin? Of course, what we believe is that pag masyado kang maraming rules sa bahay, children tends to get confused, right?
Yeah.
Children tend to get confused. So, dito sa bahay, meron lang kaming dalawang house rules. Of which, lahat ng other rules are incorporated to those two house rules. Ano ba yung house rules natin dito sa bahay?
The 2 house rules here is to obey.
Yan, obey, of course.
And respect.
Respect. Obey and respect. So, all other rules, nakapaloob na dun sa dalawang house rules na yon, para hindi malito yung mga anak namin. So, for example, sinabi natin na, okay, Elijah or Ezekiel, you have to brush your teeth after you eat. So, pag hindi nila nag-brush ng teeth after they eat, right? So, we remind them, we remind them, not because they didn't brush their teeth, but because they disobeyed us as their parents. So, dalawa lang yon. And of course, pag meron kang authority, meron kang house rules, meron ka rin, syempre, pagka na-violate ang house rules, anong meron?
Discipline.
Merong discipline. Okay, so in our family, we are firm believers of disciplining our children. But wait, sabihin nila, naku, ano ba yan? Discipline. I think this is one of the most divisive issues of parenting. Paano mo ba dapat disiplinahin mo yung anak mo? We believe the biblical way, and the biblical way requires us to do spanking, right? For disobedience. Akala naka-record. Baka maano tayo. But at this point, we will let our children speak. Hindi namin sila tinakot, ha? They were not coerced. They were not forced. We will now let them speak about
Discipline.
the topic of discipline, how we enforce them, and what really discipline is for in the first
What
place.
it's all about, when do
Right.
they get spanking,
Right.
and when and how we discipline them and we
Right.
spank them.
Okay, watch this. Okay, so we are now here with our children. Magic, no? Nawala, tapos biglang doon. Say hi.
Hi, it's hello. I just went to another dimension to come here.
Alright, so okay. Elijah, before you came here, Ezekiel, before you came here, we were telling them that here in our family, discipline is what? An important part of
No,
our...
let's start by
Right, sorry.
reinforcing. We have 2 rules here in the house.
Okay.
What are those 2 rules?
Obey and respect.
Right. Okay, so what happens if you follow those rules? What do you get?
Follow, yeah.
You can get blessings and lots of toys. you can even get okay, fine.
Alright. But how about you, Ezekiel? What happens if you obey and respect? What will tatay give you? Kiss and hug, right?
Kiss and hug. Toys.
Alright. But what happens if you
An
disobey?
iPad.
Oh, no! So, what happens, Elijah, if you disobey and disrespect? What happens?
Punish. You will get punishment.
You will get punishment, right? What punishment?
What kind of punishment?
What kind of discipline?
Down.
Palo.
Palo.
Alright. Is it ouchy?
Yes.
Uh,
No,
but do you-
yes.
but do you feel bad? Do you feel bad
No.
about mommy? Why? Why not? Why not? If you get
Because mommy and daddy loves us.
Alright. So
Love
even
you, us. And every night we have a Nerf gun fight.
so even if you get discipline, anak, ano yung sinabi mo kanina? Discipline is a sign that.
That mommy and daddy loves us.
Alright. So that's it. That's how we do discipline. Okay. Excuse na kayo. Say bye.
Maybe let's ask Elijah.
Alright.
Let's ask Elijah, what are
Yeah,
your favorite
Elijah.
songs?
No, Elijah, so I'm gonna ask you, who is God for you?
God is my
Who?
God's my God, and he's not compared to any other God because there are no other God.
Right.
What's the name of your God?
Jesus.
You love Jesus? Why?
Because he died on the cross of bears. It's
Okay. Sige, so let's ask Ezekiel. What did Jesus do for you?
What's your
Okay.
favorite story in the Bible?
What's your favorite one?
Jesus died on the cross
Ayan.
Why
Two.
did Jesus die for us?
because he should pay our sins.
Alright. Okay. Alright. Sige. Kids, your excuse. Say bye.
We can now play.
Okay, so there. Yun yung yun yung mga anak namin, yun yung ikalaw. So alam nyo na ngayon pagkamukha.
How different they are, right?
Right. O yun dapat pala ituro natin na yung mga bata talaga. Let's not compare kasi iba-iba talaga sila.
Not to say that the one is
Right.
better than the other.
So basically, ano bang relevance nitong focusing on values in terms of developing certain study habits? So we will now be sharing 3 statements na which we believe will show the relevance, the importance of values in developing study habits.
Yeah, so number 1 is it now becomes inevitable that your homeschooled children will really excel in their grades, in their studies. I will not, be very inconsistent with what we've mentioned in the last episode that it's not all about grades, and the homeschooling should not be, geared towards them, having perfect scores, having high grades, but really, the number 1 should be for them to excel.
Right.
And when I say excel, how do you define it? By excelling in their studies means they really do their best. If their best is 80%, then we would ask them why, for them, that's their definition of best. If their best is 90% or 100%, then that would translate to how accountable they are to the Lord, because ultimately we teach our children that at the end of the day, God will get all the glory.
So basically, if their faith, if their values are intact, they know now that studying is to give glory to God.
Yes.
Um,
It's the ultimate goal.
Right. Studying is serving the purpose of God in their lives, and
Yeah, and then like we've mentioned earlier, if they know how to obey the Lord, then they will know how to follow instruction.
Right.
If there's a problem with obedience or following instruction, then we have to go back to the root.
Right.
Maybe there's a problem with honoring us, their parents. Maybe there's a problem with obeying the commandments of the Lord, which is
Right.
really honoring your parents.
Right,
And
right.
there is a problem with them, loving the Lord. And if you love God, you will obey His commandments, you will honor your parents, and hence, you will obey their instructions. So if
Right.
we tell them, once we get home from the office, and this is really the normal setup, we will leave Elijah with assignments or
Right.
read pages 20 to 25, for example, and answer the post-lesson quizzes or assessment. We check the homework, And we always tell Elijah, if there are items that you do not understand or maybe unclear to you, just leave it blank.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's not about when we... So remember, the instruction is to read and to answer the quizzes or the assessment. The instruction is not you need to perfect everything. All the answers should be correct because we were also very explicit in giving him an instruction that if you don't understand anything, just leave it blank.
Right.
It's okay.
Correct. So now it brings us now to the question, with all these learnings, how would this help working parents? Children who are mindful of their accountability are mindful of their responsibility. Basically, you're raising responsible children, right?
Yeah.
Responsible children, now they are responsible, are easier to be shaped in becoming independent learners. Na yun yung sinasabi naming anchor before we gave the acronym G.I.V.E.S. Children who values honoring and obeying their parents are easier to instruct. So mas madaling magbigay ng instruction at mas madali silang sumunod. And finally, children who loves the Lord and loves their parent will grow up loving learning. One of the ways to raise independent learners, sinabi namin, is to teach children who will study not because of grades, but because they love to learn.
And to me, that's an achievement in every parent. If you ask me, my number one achievement in life is not so much about what I see hanging on the walls, some recognitions, but really, the ability to raise, God-fearing children. Not so much about, I want to raise children who will become great doctors or will become great politicians or become great lawyers someday. My vision and my prayer for my children is for them to really grow up, loving and honoring the Lord, because I believe that if they love and honor the Lord, they would want to excel in any endeavor that they will go into.
Okay, before we go to the closing credits, meron tayong mga additional, di ba?
Yes.
Yung unang additional natin, if you happen to have a Facebook page, kahit taga-Pateros ka, or kahit hindi ka taga-Pateros, and you would want to help kids for their sustenance needs, okay? Please,
like milk supplements or diapers, or if you have excess at home.
Right, please follow, like, and even message Project Happy Babies.
Project Happy Babies.
Right. Project Happy Babies.
Yeah,
okay.
I think see the poster
ching, ching, ching somewhere. Alright. Okay. Para sa mga teenagers or young professionals, yan, ano na tayo sa vlogging. Okay. Please, you can subscribe to the vlogs of my brother who is also a Christian, Jaynard. Ching, 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 ching. Alright. Okay. But, of course, di ba? If you are into music, please follow Sermo Music. Hindi, teka lang, papaliwanag ko lang because their videos, aside from their songs are really good, their videos, andun yung mga anak natin. Alright. Okay.
Yeah, the lyrics of the song, they speak of hope, they speak of truth. Yeah, you will see that from the words of the music.
If you have a Facebook page, please follow us on Faith and Fatherhood. Instagram, ako si Tatay Eli. YouTube, ako si Tatay Eli. Some of the videos that are shown here, na-upload din namin doon. And if you're into reading blogs on faithandfatherhood.wordpress.com. Till the next episode, bye!